and welcome back to another edition of the Court Council. I am the Sovereign and this is my court. I'm just gonna warn you straight off the bat, this video, this topic might irritate you. We are currently all living through the epidemic, the global pandemic that is the coronavirus. Most of us are sitting here in quarantine as we speak. Throughout my day, I am constantly watching the news. I am a newsaholic. I watch it all the time, so I get lots and lots of information. And there was one story that I thought would be appropriate to hold counsel. We are gathered here today to discuss the Zaandam and the Rotterdam cruise ships of the Holland America cruise line. Why are we discussing cruise ships? During a pandemic, on March 7th of 2020, 1,243 passengers boarded a cruise ship in Buenos Aires, Argentina for a 14-day cruise that was originally scheduled to end on the 21st of March in Chile. However, at that time, travel advisories were already being issued. The coronavirus had already spread. International flights were being canceled when they decided to board the ship. So when they were supposed to dock in Chile, the government would not allow the ship to dock. And the countries surrounding Chile, all of the South American countries also would not allow the ship to make port anywhere, so, essentially stranding the passengers and the ship at sea. And ever since then, they have been looking for a way to disembark. Earlier this week, the Panamanian government allowed the ship to make passage through the Panama Canal, and they are now on their way to Florida. Since setting sail, over 100 passengers are sick, 2 of which are confirmed to have the coronavirus, and 4 people have died. They are on their way to Florida, hoping that Governor DeSantis will allow them to disembark within Florida, one of the hardest hit states in the United States with the coronavirus. I know. This is unbelievable. You should have saw my face as I'm watching the news stories and I'm reading up on this, and I'm just like, I'm gonna say what we're all thinking right now, okay? Who in their right mind was boarding a cruise ship in March? Now, to put this all into perspective for everybody, because I know some of you weren't paying attention, didn't watch the video that I made earlier in February on the coronavirus. Let me just put this all into perspective for you. I made a video on the coronavirus in February. Cases have been found in the United States, in Canada, the Philippines. It has spread around the world, and everybody's looking at the Chinese government. There are three cruise ships that are under quarantine, and those people are trapped in their rooms because of a virus that you let spread. But we're overreacting. The Philippines closed their borders. Tell them they're overreacting, because I don't think they care. I don't think they care, and I don't blame them. The United States has closed its borders to foreign nationals coming from China, or anybody who's even visited China in the last 2 weeks. So the first week of February, it was common knowledge that the coronavirus had spread outside of China. We had cases in the United States in February. Europe had cases in February. The United States had closed international airports to foreign nationals. They had suspended all flights to and from China in February. In that very video that I did, in February, I was talking about cruise ships that were not being allowed to make port because even they had coronavirus spreading on their ship. Do we not remember the Diamond Princess? The Diamond Princess was stranded for about 2 weeks as the virus spread to all the passengers, and they had over, I think, 200 people sick. 3 cruise ships at that time had been known to have contracted the coronavirus and spread it to their passengers. Like, we were talking about this a month ago. In March, citizens around the world were being repatriated, meaning the government was intervening in other countries in order to bring their citizens from overseas home. South American countries, Brazil, Panama, Japan, China, countries were repatriating their citizens and bringing them home. So it's just like, why on earth did you think this was a good idea? So some of the passengers were asked, why on earth would you board a ship? Why would you board a cruise ship during a well-known global pandemic? Why would you do that? Some of them answered, well, we couldn't get a refund. It was a non-refundable ticket. We couldn't get refunds, and therefore we're just like, might as well take the cruise, take the trip, you know? And now these people are stuck. They were supposed to end their trip, what, a week ago? And now they are traveling up the coast of South America through the Panama Canal to Florida. First of all, what does Florida have to do with anything? the Zandam cruise ship and the Rotterdam, who's there, because there are now 2 cruise ships. They tried to separate the sick and the non-sick people into 2 separate cruise ships, and they're bringing them from South America to Florida. And I'm just like, what does Florida have to do with anything? Why are you bringing your problems up here? What, like, for what reason? And then I'm reading the news articles, and the people on board these ships are demanding help, demanding it. Not asking, demanding. They're making like written out signs like help. And they're saying, Governor DeSantis, you need to think about, what if your mom was on this ship? What would you do if your family was on this ship? What would you, like, you need to help us too. And just like, this ship is not a ship that is brimming and packed with US citizens only. There are foreign nationals on this ship. So in my head, I'm thinking, what right do you have to be demanding help from anyone? In my mind, this is 2 ships of the most selfish, self-centered people to ever cohabitate the same space that there has ever been. I don't even understand how these people allowed their names and faces to be put on news articles and the news in general, because I would be totally and completely embarrassed for people to find out that I was so self-serving, so selfish, to put my butt on a cruise ship during a pandemic when a lot of the world is already at this time in lockdown. Most governments are issuing declarations to their citizens to come home. You're on a cruise ship having the nerve to demand help from anybody else. The first thing I have to say, especially to the people on the ship, if you want help, the first thing you should have done is ask. You should not be demanding help. You should be pleading for help, asking for help, because as far as I'm concerned, you don't even deserve it. These people, this is such entitlement. Entitlement at its pinnacle. You flew in the face of a national health crisis for funsies, and now you want people to come save you. For what reason? This is what really irritates me about the selfishness of these people. They think that their lives matter more than the countless others on land that Governor DeSantis is already dealing with. There are 1,000 people on this cruise ship, but there are hundreds of thousands in the state of Florida whose resources are already stretched thin. These are the people in Florida didn't put anybody else's health at risk. They didn't do something for fun or money. They're the ones that the governor is supposed to be prioritizing. The state of Florida and the citizens of Florida, those are the governor's kids right there. Okay, you take care of your own kids before you start helping other people's kids. So nobody can say the governor is being mean, because it's his priority to take care of the citizens that are already under his umbrella already. Not foreign nationals, not selfish Americans that came from other states. That's not his responsibility. So the people on the ship have no right to be demanding anything from anyone, especially in the selfish position that you have put yourself. And to the lady on the ship who had the nerve to say, Governor DeSantis, what if your mother, and I know the people in the comments are gonna say this too, what if your mom was on the ship? What if your grandparents were on the ship? First things first, my family's not that stupid. They're not. My family would never have, even in February, my family, they would have canceled all their trips. My grandmother travels all over the place for just God knows what. She loves to travel, but her butt has been in her house since the beginning of February and not moving. And that woman travels. My family would never. But let's just say, for argument's sake, well, you're being really mean and unreasonable. Let's say that my grandparents were on that ship as well. What would I do? Welcome to my channel, because you must not know me very well. I am very fair. I do not let my emotions most of the time get the best of me. If I feel like my emotions are getting the best of me, I will let you guys know, because I'm honest like that. But for the most part, even when it comes to my family, I'm not gonna let my emotions get the best of me. If my grandparents were on the Zandam, I would be heartbroken. I would be terrified. I would have anxiety through the roof. But the lives of 2 of my grandparents, whom I love to death and would not function normally without, their lives are not more important than the hundreds of thousands in the state of Florida. There's no way I would sit here and lie to myself or my channel or the people watching me and say, my grandparents deserve to be saved. Honestly, they don't. It was a selfish, dumb decision to go on a cruise during a pandemic. So let's just What would I say if my grandparents were actually on the ship? Let's just play scenario right now, okay? Play. Governor DeSantis and citizens of Florida, my grandparents made a really awful mistake. A mistake that I don't condone and that I am not proud of. What they did, they should not have done. And on behalf of my family and my grandparents, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that they even made this decision. This never should have happened. Nobody should have boarded that ship. So I understand why the government would be furious with them. I understand why you would not want to help them. But if not for them, then for me and my sanity, I beseech the state of Florida to help my grandparents. I plead to you, though they may have made a very, very selfish decision in which I'm sure they apologize, I apologize, I need them, and I am asking and pleading for their safe return. That's how you ask for help. That's how you ask for help when you have made a dumb decision and put yourself in a position that shows the world your inhumanity, your selfishness, the gall of these people. Zaandam and Rotterdam cruise ship passengers, let me just, to be perfectly, totally clear, you deserve nothing. Nothing. You made a selfish choice to go on a cruise, and I hope it was worth it. I really hope you got your money's worth. Like, you guys get an extra week of cruising and everything. Was it worth it? You put your lives in danger and the lives of the citizens of wherever you end up disembarking at. You deserve not, and then they asked for sympathy. Did you have sympathy for the rest of the world? What anyone else was going through? Because you knew when you got on this ship that 3 other cruise ships, at least 3, because currently at the time of making this video, there are a total of 10 cruise ships that are stranded. These are not the only ones. There are other cruise ships out there that are still stranded, okay? So it has been well known since end of January, beginning of February, cruise ships were not the place to be and that the disease was spreading. You either bought a ticket because the price was lower, you didn't want to lose your refund, or whatever dumb decision that you made and went on a cruise. This is a cruise ship full of the most selfish people I've ever seen in my life. Ever. I can't believe you guys let your faces be put out there. You are selfish. You're just as selfish as the millennials, the Gens, it's not millennials, it's the Gen Zers that were out there on spring break in Florida partying it up like nothing was happening. Everybody like went in on them and they're just like, these young people are so selfish. These young people aren't quarantining. Look at the boomers on the cruise ship. Look at the boomers on the cruise ship. What were you thinking? And then there are some elderly passengers who are sitting there saying, well, we have an autistic son and he's there, he has carers and he needs us because we're his primary carers.
We're very concerned about getting home to our son, Oliver. He's got autism and severe learning difficulties. He's got very little understanding of what's going on with this situation. He's got a wonderful team of carers and they're doing a great job. But some of them have had to self-isolate. We are part of his care team too, and our delayed return is putting an awful lot of pressure on his team as we're not there to fill in the gaps.
If you were his primary carers, what business did you have leaving him at all during an epidemic? What business did you have leaving? And I'm saying this from the perspective of a person. You guys know that my primary job was taking care of severely mentally and disabled people. That has been my primary function on this planet ever since graduating high school. So with all of my knowledge and background as a carer, I can look at you and say, bad parents. Bad parents. So, and don't get on the news and tell them, well, we need to get off the ship because we have an autistic. You never should have left your son in the first place. This was not the time. Like this, there is nothing, nobody can tell me about the situation that does not scream selfishness. And if you've seen other videos that I've done, you know how I feel about bad people. You know how I feel about bad people. And this is just 1,243 bad people. And I'm not saying this about the workers on the cruise ship, the captain, the helpers, the dishwashers, the servers. That's their job. They were supposed to be there. I don't blame them. I blame the company Holland America for even letting this ship set sail. I do not blame the workers. I blame the company and I blame the passengers for even stepping foot. You all should not be demanding anything. You all should be giving an apology Because that's the one thing I haven't seen come off this ship. Not one person on this ship has apologized for their very obvious selfish mistake. Not one, and that's the one reason that I'm so harsh on them. And I really, in my feelings, I don't want to help them. I do. If I was Governor DeSantis, I would not allow this ship to dock in Florida. I wouldn't, because those are not his citizens. The Floridians are his citizens, and he's already stretched thin. The Holland America is not his problem. And nobody on the ship has expressed any remorse. They all act entitled to help. They're like, somebody has to let us port. Honestly, they don't. They don't. They don't. And I do feel bad for these people's families. I do feel for you. I understand how you could feel hurt. When I do a video, you know, I do my research. I went through Twitter just to see what was going on there. And I found family members of people on the ships that were demanding that Florida let them disembark. And I'm just like, I understand your pain and how you feel, but those passengers' lives are not worth more than the people who stayed their butts in their homes and contracted the disease. They are not worth more than the hundreds of thousands that they are putting at risk. And at the very least, you would think that the people on the ship would issue an apology. At the very least, you would think at least one person from this ship would be like, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. But no, I've seen none of it. And you guys know that I checked. I've seen not one person on this ship admit, hey, I made a really dumb, selfish mistake. Can we get some help? Because then I would be like, you know what? I'm not happy with you. I am not proud of you from whatever country you came from. I'm not exactly liking you right now, but at least I would feel more inclined to help. But the fact that they're out here just swimming in ocean water in a cruise ship talking about someone has to come help it, please, no. I don't know what's going to happen to this ship. I don't know where these passengers are going to end up. Quite frankly, I think they deserve another 2 weeks at sea. I want them to get their money's worth. I mean, they spent all that money and you wanted the cruise so bad. I feel like you deserve an extra 2 weeks, but I really don't know where the ship is going to end up. Quite honestly, I know that this reaction seems kind of harsh, but you really have to think, is it fair that these people, these non-US citizens, get priority over the people who stayed at home and did what they were supposed to do? Of course, the people on the ship need help. I don't have the answers to everything, but I know some people are going to ask in the comments, well, what would you do? Like, what do we do? Because we can't just leave them there. So what should we do about the people on the ships? Off the top of my head, without having really sat down and been meticulous about it, what I would do would be to turn the cruise ships into medical ships the way that we have a medical ship docked outside of, I think, Los Angeles. It's either San Francisco or Los Angeles. There's a full tier medical ship, like floating hospital, right? I would turn those ships into basically floating hospitals, have medical staff board the ships themselves, and pretty much turn the ships into floating quarantine zones and treat the people while they're on the ship. Once they are confirmed not to be sick, not to have coronavirus, not to be a threat to anyone, then allow them to disembark. But I would not disembark those passengers. I wouldn't endanger anybody's lives because of their selfish decisions. I wouldn't endanger, you know, a whole state, medical staff, an entire hospital wing because of these selfish people. Yes, some of them are American, but there's also British people and Canadian citizens on the ship. And the family with the autistic son are British citizens, which I mean, as a healthcare provider, I could make a whole video ranting against you people. That irritates me to no end. You left your autistic child alone. And there are people are gonna be like, they're with a healthcare provider. No, your parents during the pandemic in Europe, it's Europe. You left him. I'm gonna stop because I will go off. I will go off. Let me know what you guys think about this situation in the comment section below. Do you think that I'm being too harsh? I will accept if you think that. I don't think that I'm being too harsh. I do not like selfish people, and you put other people's lives in danger. I don't like you. But share out what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Give some details. If you find out anything else about this situation, let us all know in the comment section below. Also, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you feel like you'll be back later and would like to become a member of the court. We would love to have you. Issuing the travel restrictions. And I look forward to seeing all of you safe and healthy back here again. I love you, I'll miss you, and you know I'll be back later. Bye.